Welcome. Be sure to like and subscribe for more scary stories, or I will come for you. I'd like to thank Bobert Sandberg for recently joining the Curator's Disciples, and also Lady Erin and Sarf and the Crow Goddess for being with the Curator's Disciples for 2 months. Your viewership is very much appreciated. Story number 1. This was back before Google web pages was still very basic HTML with JavaScript. Hardly anyone used CSS. Only discussion boards and some banking sites had anything approaching mature front-end/back-end combinations. Early Net, a real deep web story, not just one about holistic activities online. I was browsing random blogs, GeoCities, sites, and the like, just going from link to link. Eventually, I came upon an odd page. It appeared to be random thoughts from different people, but for the time, it was very well designed. The messages seemed to be cryptic in nature, like several people trying to pass secret notes. I started through the source, and hidden in the comments of the JavaScript, there were various IP addresses. I gathered all of the IPs in a text file and began enumerating some rerouters with banner messages. I could tell that most were university warnings. This is a secure system at the University of blah, blah, blah. The default Cisco credentials from back in the day worked on most of them, but I didn't poke around. A few of the IPs were web servers with little or nothing on them, mostly Apache and Linux or some BSD. At least one IIS server I can recall. I finally came upon a web server with a huge directory of HTML files and TIFF images, with a few smaller subdirectories containing the same. An NS lookup returns no reverse records for the IP. A visual route traced it as far as Colorado. The HTML files appeared to be records a psychologist or similar mental health professional would keep. The images were of faxes, apparently of both military and medical nature. As I browsed from a subdirectory back to the parent, at the top of it was a new HTML file named something like 1-hello-there.html. The timestamp was from right that minute. I opened it, and in plain text was the message, "We see you," all lowercase. About 15 seconds later, the server dropped. Story number 2. Before I begin, I think it's important to give you a little bit of background. I am currently 20 years old, but when these events occurred, I was about 16. I had never downloaded Tor and used basic software, as I'm not very tech-savvy, nor did I really believe in the hype of the deep web. I never found a red room nor convincing murders, but I do have some messed up stories, one in particular revolving around airplane crashes. This site had hundreds of black box recordings, and you could listen to them uncensored. They contained recordings of everything from plane crashes to hijackings. I'm a morbid person, so naturally, I listened to a few of them. If you have a weak stomach, I don't suggest ever seeking out this site. You could hear people crying, praying, screaming, in addition to the sounds of crashes, impacts, and gunshots. The worst was a pilot speaking to what sounded like himself during what he communicated to be total engine failure. He was the pilot of a passenger plane carrying 4 families out of China. There are small descriptions of the planes and pilots and what happened under each audio file. In it, you could hear him pray. The control was making frantic sounds, and his frantic, panicked voice slowly receded to a ghost, relative of the acceptance. I will never forget the absolute fear in his voice while he spoke what I assumed was Chinese, and I couldn't make sense of his words. His tone told me exactly what he was doing. The movies don't give an accurate description of fear. They don't convey the helplessness of a human trapped in a flying tin can in the sky as it falls back to land. I felt as if I was with him as I heard the plane make impact. I witnessed his final moments through my headphones, and I heard the moment that little black box stopped recording. The description said the plane that crashed held no survivors, and there were over 40 small children on board. I don't know the details of what happened since the site was just brief descriptions and audio files, but the voices I heard were real people, and it will haunt me for a very long time. This was fairly tame compared to what I found next. Everyone and their mothers have some story about human trafficking from the deep web. No, I don't have men come to my door to whisk me or my family away. However, I found a human cattle submission site. Now, it is entirely possible that the site was fake and plastered onto the darker corners of the web. But by no means am I here to tell you that everything I saw was 100% real-life sites with boogeyman up to no good. But as far as creep factor, it was pretty high. Someone was sick enough in their heads to make the site and pay to keep it. Now, upon clicking the link, you are brought to a large red, flashing $19.99-esque text reading, "Welcome to the ranch." And just below, you could browse the cattle, images of women looking from ages 16 to 45 with brief descriptions of what they were used for. They only had their first names displayed, and besides, the name was voluntary or involuntary. The descriptions were volatile, explaining that specific women were used for breeding and meat or play. The meat was to be pre-cut to your specifications, packaged discreetly, and mailed to you within 2 business days. Those determined for breeding were given ages, how many children they'd had thus far, and brief stories on their life before the ranch. The descriptions even went so far as to say who gave them to the ranch. If they were listed as involuntary, many were donated by husbands, boyfriends, and families looking for money, revenge, or some other unexplained reason. Now, lastly, those given up for play. I have a strong stomach, but the descriptions of this made me retch a bit. These people were to be sent to the ranch to learn how to be pets. These women had no available names. All of them were marked as involuntary, and each had a description of what the donor wanted done to them. Graphic descriptions of sexual assault, physical tortures, and amputations. When the women eventually died, the page listed what they would expect to be done with the corpses. It didn't end there. At the very bottom of the page was a link to a PDF file that could be printed and mailed or submitted online. The form was for donation of cattle. On it, you could list why the person was there, the basic health of the person, voluntary or involuntary, and who you were to the person, and additional notes if you had any. The owner of the page proudly left his or her own note. They were discreet, and they dealt primarily using Bitcoin. Refunds were prohibited, and it ended on a cheerful note. Enjoy your meal. I don't know the validity of the site, but it made for an interesting find. This adventure led to the contemporary death of my old Dell dinosaur. It was about a cannibal cult. I don't know if this cult is exactly cannibalistic, but they alluded to it. I got interested in a creepypasta story called useless.avi. It was pretty popular back when creepypasta was still a big thing. For those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, this short video was of a woman naked, tied to a bed, and left alone with a chimp that was emaciated and abused. As one would expect, the chimp graphically mauls and kills her. The video cuts to a naked man in a mask, licking a toilet, and then blackness. The video cuts. I had heard a lot of rumors about the video. and decided to look into it. Being in high school and working part-time, I had a lot of free time. Other breaks in the evenings, I visited forums and chats dedicated to debunking creepypasta, and it all pointed to the video being fake until I came across a thread titled "How Useless Can You Be?" I don't remember what site I was on. I pretty much just randomly clicked and crossed my fingers. Anyhow, a user mentioned seeing the video before it was removed on the site and had saved it too. Too good to be true. Yeah, it was a hoax account, but it luckily prompted an active member of this cult to post, and post he did. He had created a web page for the cult he called Revision of Humanity or something to that extent. On it, he had many videos created by the group meant to be art installations to provoke thought regarding human behavior. The cult had simple origins and were self-proclaimed freedom thinkers out to wreck the US government. However, they took a dark turn when a member wanted to leave, leading to creation of the useless video, or at least a rough interpretation of it. The poster had the useless video amongst many other short videos. They were all fake, and the members acted as actors. Except Useless. The woman in Useless was a member that wanted to leave. The chimp was a pet of the leader who failed to care for it and lost his temper at it. The woman was truly killed in the video, and it was graphic, although extremely grainy. The poster made mention that the majority of the cult had disbanded after the woman's body was found, and the leader and 10 members were tried and convicted for a slew of crimes, including but not limited to murder, petty theft, and animal neglect. The poster went on to say that he wanted to recreate the cult and left on a message board that if you do not understand, then you are part of the problem. Terminate yourself for the salvation of the masses. I laughed it off as just another poser and assumed it was a hoax until I went to exit my browser and found that my screen had frozen. Fed up after 5 minutes, I resorted to holding down the power button. It would not shut off. I unplugged the damn thing, as I only had power when it was plugged in. The battery was crap and it didn't shut off. I plugged it back in and tried to exit using the escape key, when the screen started violently flashing error messages and then finally flashing black and white with the words "part of the problem" slathered all over my screen like sunscreen left on the hands of a toddler. The speaker started blaring static with chanting voices that I couldn't make out. My screen suddenly went blue with what looked like random codes and then shut off. I was unable to turn it on for almost 2 weeks. For a month after that, every time I tried to access a web page, the computer would redirect me to the cult page. After about a month, it all sort of stopped. Smart troll, using a program virus, a genuine cult? I don't know. I don't concern myself with it much. It makes for an interesting story, even if it is boring to deep web standards. Story number 3. I don't know what I was thinking, really. I had been drinking with friends and got home drunk. I decided to open the Tor browser. One link led to another, and I ended up on a marketplace website that was selling all sorts of shady stuff. I could buy my own weight in cocaine if I saw fit and had the money, though something else caught my interest. A posting said, "Mystery box, made to order, $250. I read the description, which listed what it could contain: a brand new iPad. That was it. That was the thing that made me send the $250 worth of Bitcoin to some random guy in some random place on the internet. I had vague memories of sloppy messaging to the seller, and I really wanted that iPad. Oh God, I remember sending them an extra $50 to sweeten the deal. What a fool. When I woke, my head hurt. I had a full-blown migraine. It wasn't until I had breakfast, showered, and opened my laptop that I remembered. My heart sunk. I didn't have money to waste on things like that, but I did. I clicked the button to message the seller to tell them I changed my mind, but nothing happened. I refreshed the page, and as you can imagine, their listing wasn't found. Now, I didn't think of myself as an idiot. I wouldn't fall for some 411 scams. I know no Nigerian prince wants to send me money, but drunk me, he's a bit questionable. I checked my Bitcoin account to see it tell me that I was out of untraceable money. I swear I had at least $750 in there. If you take the exchange rate of the day, with the way it fluctuates, it may have been only $300. I was depressed for the rest of the day. I promised myself I wouldn't do anything like that again. But then drunk me is a real, you know. Weeks passed, and I completely forgot about it, to be honest. And I didn't want to remember how stupid I had been. Today, though, I did remember. I walked downstairs to see a large brown box on the kitchen table, addressed to me. My dad must have received it from the mailman when he was getting ready for work. I stared at it, shocked to see that it had actually arrived. I picked it up. The weight was lopsided but heavy. That was a good sign. At least it wasn't filled with packaging chips. I pulled off the tape and opened it up to reveal a lot of packaging chips, and I chuckled to myself before plunging my hand in. I pulled out an anonymous red sweater. I held it to my face. It smelled of perfume. It was used. I was slightly disgusted, but what did I expect from the dark web? I placed it on the table next to me. The next item was a set of keys. I examined them and wondered why on earth that was part of this parcel. It was literally like the guy just shoved some random things into a box and sent it. I was beginning to feel ripped off. I placed my hand in again and pulled out a small bag with a note attached. I knew what it was before I read it, and I was excited. A little thing to make the time pass more calmly. Rein in, Sharpie. It was a good amount of weed. I never bought drugs off the internet, and I opened the bag to see it was the real deal. That strong, smelly, skunky stuff rose up. I took a deep breath and sighed. I'd say it was about $70 worth, give or take, and I pushed it into my back pocket, worried that my mom would be up any minute and catch me. I was intrigued to see what was remaining. Maybe I'd make my money back. The next item was a small wooden box. I opened it to see a few pieces of silver jewelry, and I checked each one, having no idea if it was worth anything. There were 2 necklaces and 2 rings. I wondered if these were stolen or bought from a pawn shop. I placed it next to the red tom. Then, next, was another baggie with another note written in Sharpie. You'll need these. Trust me, winky face. I was a little anxious when I read the note and saw a small box of Xanax inside. Why did I need anxiety medication? I was not one to dabble in prescription drugs. Weed, a little, and mushrooms were all I needed. I knew some friends who'd pay pretty good money for that. I had no idea how much they were worth, though. I looked it up later. I assumed $50, so that was about $130 so far. To be fair, for something off the dark web, if I only lost around half my money, I should count myself lucky. I fished around in the box again and couldn't feel anything else. I picked it up to feel if it was still heavy and placed it down and stood up. I reached all the way to the bottom and felt something large and slender. I pulled it out. It was an iPad. Holy crap. Jackpot. It was slightly scratched, but it wasn't first generation. It was light and thin, and it was at least an Air. I was stoked. It was at that point that my mother popped her head around the corner. Hey, honey, did you get a package? Yeah, I said, suddenly aware I could smell the weed in my back pocket. "Hey, you found my sweater," she said, delighted. "Where was it?" "Ah," was all I mustered. She picked it up and, unconsciously, the keys too. She walked away. My side worried she'd smelled the drugs. "What's that?" she said, turning. "I'm holding it for a friend," I said without thinking. "What's my jewelry box doing down here?" I stared at my mom, slack-jawed. She picked it up and opened it, studying if anything was missing. "Well, answer me," she demanded. "It was in the package," I said, honestly. "Don't bullshit me. Were you going to sell this?" "No, I promise. Just wait until your dad gets home." "Jesus, Taryn, I swear, this is not your stuff." "It was in my package. I bought it off the net." "You expect me to believe you bought my exact top and jewelry box off the internet? Why in God's blazes would you do that?" "It was a mystery box. It could have contained anything." "Come up with such garbage. Sometimes I think it's best to go to your room." "I'm 17, I said. "When you're under our roof, it's our rules." I picked up the iPad and went upstairs. I laid on my bed and turned the device on. I was surprised to see it still had power. A few non-standard apps appeared on the desktop as I swiped to unlock. Nothing of interest, though. I checked the email program to see that it was blank. I was worried it was stolen. I knew I couldn't keep it if there were any personal data there. I checked the Photos app. There were about a dozen. The first was a low-line shot of the street. It could have been anywhere. I swiped to the next, and it was the front of the house. The light was on in the front room, but in the low light, it overexposed the shot, making it hard to see any detail. The next was the side of a house. The horizontal white wood siding looked slightly similar to ours. Next was of what appeared to be a rear door, then one of the kitchen. I did a double take. The place looked identical to ours. Then one of the living room, the TV bright and hiding the faces of the people who sat on the couch and chair. Then one of the stairs. The brown waxed wood of the floor was uncanny, and my heart thumped in my chest. Then one of the landing. There was no coincidence. This was our house. The family portraits that hung on the far side wall, even in the low light, was obviously ours. I panicked and didn't want to swipe again, but I did. My mother was asleep on the bed covers pulled. The next view, the covers being pulled apart gently. My mother pulled her legs from the sudden cool air. The cupboard open, a black-gloved hand reaching out and searching, the hand holding a red sweater. A dark photo with lines of light obscuring the view, another dark photo, this time the exposure was better, and I could see it from the inside of the cupboard. My dad was in the room. And next, my dad is in bed next to my mother. Then one of the bed with my parents asleep. I swiped again and saw the covers pulled back. Whoever was doing this wanted to be caught. I was sure of it. After that, in the hallway again, the black-gloved hand was holding the jewelry box outstretched. Only one photo remained, and it was above a bag with someone sleeping below it was me, my large room, ice cold. I threw the iPad to the floor and heard it cracking against the side of my desk. I leaped up and saw the screen stare back at me with a rainbow mosaic of broken LCD and glass. What was I going to tell my parents? They'd never believe me. I pulled the bag of pills out of my back pocket and read the note again. "You'll need these. Trust me." I turned it over to read a date, 21st of July, 2018. It must have been when the package was sent. I ran it again and realized that it was tomorrow, Saturday. What does that mean? I have to warn my parents. If you don't hear back from me, call the authorities. I fear the worst. Story number 4. When I was 16, I got into hacking, and I loved it. I had gotten quite good at it, but my arrogance caused my aunt's becoming. You see, I was browsing some forum, and I came across something labeled as the dark web. I was overcome with curiosity, so I clicked on it. The post provided everything from what it was to how to access it. Arrogant enough to think I wouldn't get caught, I proceeded to download the Tor browser with no extra precautions and started browsing. All of a sudden, my laptop crashed and froze, and I got hundreds of pop-up warnings informing me I had a virus. Then it shut off. I stared in horror as it turned back on, only with a green light turned on where my camera was. Someone was watching. I got an anonymous message on Skype that read, "You made the biggest mistake of your life." "Who are you?" I responded, while panicking and covering my camera with my thumb. "Your new friend." And with that, the chat just suddenly disappeared. I formatted my laptop and made sure there was no remaining malware or viruses, and had a quiet couple of days after that. I was pretty relieved, thinking I had defeated him. Sadly, I would come to know that wasn't the case. A week later, I was getting dressed in my room and was completely naked when I got a text on my phone that had no caller ID. "Come closer. Who is this?" The text didn't faze me, though I thought it was a wrong number or one of my friends. Frank, calling me. "Come closer." Closer to what? I wasn't sure. Was my friend messing with me at this point? "To the camera, huh?" "What camera?" "Okay, which one of you assholes did this?" I was confused, but I had told my friends about the incident a couple of days ago. So other than the anxiety growing within me, I was consciously trying to convince myself it was a prank. I walked over to my laptop, still naked, and saw the light of the camera wasn't on. I put down my phone and got dressed, and my phone started vibrating uncontrollably. I'd received 16 pictures of me, all naked. I screamed and ended up breaking my phone screen from the impact. I went off the grid completely. No social media or internet. That was it, especially mortifying for a 16-year-old girl. When I got back on later, I had no issue, as warning signs were relieved, until almost 4 years later, I had gotten a new laptop, and I was at my boyfriend's house. We were studying together when it turned into a makeout session. I heard my laptop ding many times and had gotten annoyed, then turned around to see what it was. I guess I must have looked like a ghost, because my boyfriend started panicking and shaking me. It was him. He's back, or maybe he never left. I started rewinding all the times I've been undressing with my laptop on, every time I've shared something private during a Skype call, and I started having a panic attack. His message read, "Don't forget to use protection," as if I couldn't smell the irony in that. He didn't stop but continued to harass me for the next 2 years. But it's been quiet for a year now, until about 4 hours ago. I got a text that read, "Let me in," and then I heard a knock on my door. The door was locked and deadbolted, so there's no way I'm leaving my apartment. We were safe in here. I called the police 3 hours ago, and no one's shown up. According to an update half an hour ago, nothing. I called my boyfriend an hour ago, and he said he's on his way, but now he's just not answering his phone. Update. My boyfriend came over 5 minutes ago, and when he saw me breaking down crying, he swore up and down he didn't get a call from me. We went to the police station together, and there was no record of my call. I don't know what to think. They don't know what to do. Story number 5. Everyone knows about the deep web murders, stream kills, the infamous Shannon. We've all read the creepypastas, the horror stories. I believed them then, and now I know they're real. At the time, I figured the deep web sickness had spread into most dating apps, Bumble, Tinder, but that still didn't stop me. No, Melissa Ramsey was stubborn, and honestly, I was too horny to care. I wasn't pretty, not in a conventional way. At 19, I was a skinny black girl with big brown eyes hidden behind big glasses. My short, straight hair and weird fashion sense did more to showcase a five-head and scrawny body than my nicer qualities. With a bony ass and small tits, I had nothing to attract boys. Even being a freshman at a nice college like Georgia Southwestern didn't mean anything when I lived with the folks instead of on campus. They had a nice house out in the country, sure, but there wasn't a single hot guy anywhere near us. So yeah, I was quiet. I had no friends. Way too awkward to strike up a conversation in person, much less with any sexy guys. So I did what any girl or guy in that position would do. I hit up the apps. The only problem was Tinder, Meet Me, and Bumble were all strikeouts. And that was with me swiping right on every guy. Even my attempts at posting sexy pics on Gone Wild got 0 upvotes. I don't know, maybe I just didn't have the face or body the boys wanted. At least, not for the studs I wanted. Of course, the only interest I got were from weirdos and unattractive dudes. Okay, maybe they were in my league, but still, why couldn't one of the hotties like me? Shit, I'd settle for a one-night stand at this point. But then came my brutal epiphany. And the truth hurts. Let me tell you, the problem was me. Melissa, not the sexy guys. I was the ugly one, the loser, the female creep. So I decided to overhaul my image, like a makeover you see in the movies. No, I didn't wear more makeup. I didn't ditch the glasses, didn't stylize my hair or hit the gym. Instead, I made a fake Bumble profile. I chose the name Tara Heisler. A blonde-haired, blue-eyed Instagram model became my new image. She had tan skin, big boobs, tall. One of those Southern Belle co-ed types I'd spent over a decade being harassed by and over a decade competing with. And now, she was me, the perfect catfish in this thirsty ocean. The boys didn't have a chance. I was slaying right and left. No longer did I have to settle for male versions of me. Gone were the awkward, weird types. In came the hotties. Maybe my theater experience helped me with the texting and chat performances. Or maybe it was just the natural benefit of being a conventional beauty. Then again, that model's plethora of sexy Instagram photos also helped me win some action. I could make those hunks do anything. White guys, black guys, jocks, nerds, it didn't matter. And the fucking pics they send. Ooh, they know how to make a girl blush. My secret pic library grew bigger and better. Whatever Tara asked for, those boys sent. And they didn't hesitate when doing it for me. Not when I was on that Snapchat stage playing their dream girl. Okay, so maybe I wasn't gonna meet my future husband doing this. Not even my future friend with benefit, or first serious boyfriend. But still, this was a fun way to satisfy my own desperate thirst. For once, I felt hot, powerful, a social media queen. And playing the sexy thought only allowed me to slip deeper into my own desires. These hotties responded to all my fantasies. All the sexy stuff Melissa was too scared to ask. And all the sexy stuff these pretty boys would never do for a girl like me. Only under the spell of an all-American hottie. The tantalizing fun lasted through the first few days of winter break. The hot nudes, and talks an amazing early Christmas present. I stayed cautious, of course. Those creepypastas still lingered in the back of my mind when I wasn't overcome with excitement. That is, the inner heat I felt warmed me from both the cold and unease. My anticipation only increased with each new match and steamy pick. This Tuesday night was more of the same. A few minutes past 9:30, and I was still holed up in my room, sitting at my computer desk, surrounded by Nicki Minaj and Tarantino posters, not working on any scripts or monologues, like I told Mom. My phone was blowing up with sizzling snaps. I'd managed to talk a baseball player into doing both twerking and jerking videos. The bedroom door burst open. In a frenzy, I yanked my hand out and exited Snapchat. My dream delayed. Mom leaned in the doorway. The sloppy pajamas covered her chubby frame. Straight hair dangled down her back. Mom's small eyes stuck on me. "You okay, sweetie?" she said in a soft tone. Like a panicking crook, I struggled to suppress the nerves. Breathing heavy, I checked my phone once more, glad no big dick or baseball butt was grabbing Mom's nosy gaze. Yeah, I stammered. Folding my arms in the cold room, I faced her. "I'll come down in a minute." Mom flashed me a warm smile. "Okay, we're about to watch the movie." "I'll be there in a few minutes," I said. I just wanted to finish the script. Cringing, my grip grew tighter on the phone, to my real entertainment. Mama chuckled. "Okay, we'll be downstairs." With that, she leaned back and shut the door. Now, I was back to my fantasy, back to the boys. A vibration further fueled my excitement. I turned my hungry eyes toward the phone, toward the new Bumble alert. "You got a new match." Grinning, I veered straight to the app. And what a match it was. Michael Barnes, 24, and in great shape. Well over 6 feet tall. A physique as flawless as his baby blues. His straight brown hair complemented a smooth, slender face. The type of hunk destined for Wall Street success or modeling agencies. "Hello," I said to myself. Immediately, I made the first move, sup sexy. Thankfully, the wait wasn't long. In seconds, Michael's reply appeared. "Hey, cutie. Snap. Score another one for Team Tara." Our flirting continued on Snapchat for another 10 minutes. He sent me a few face pics, a sexy gym shot. I responded with the best of Tara's Instagram. Needless to say, I pushed Michael for more, like a repressed housewife, eager for a peek at their neighborhood's new hottie. I was glad I wasn't scaring him off. Michael was rather playful. His arsenal of emojis and sarcasm kept me entertained. "What are you wearing, Tara?" he typed out in all caps, followed by a kissing emoji. Wanting to escalate the sexting session, I deliberated, then replied, "Getting late, so you know, just a bra and thong," accompanied by a winking emoji. I waited and waited for a response, in simultaneous dread and anticipation. Michael had seen my reply. In a painful taunt, his goddamn bitmoji kept popping up from time to time, but there wasn't a word. Not even in his typing tease. "What the fuck?" I muttered. "Come on, bitch." A few more minutes went by. Agonizing anxiety dominated me. The anguish hurt. Unlike me, Tara never lost a man. And she couldn't lose this one, not when Michael had enraptured my female gaze. Bumble gave me another alert. Another new match. I guess there were more fish in this sleazy sea, but still. I couldn't shake Michael. Right when things were about to get hot and heavy, he just dipped. Sure, Melissa was used to being ghosted by the hotter guys, but not Tara. Determined, I sent another message. I'm dressed to kill. Boo. Trembling, I took a deep breath, felt even colder in the room. And then Michael's pending reply got me hot all over again. The internal excitement came roaring back, until I saw his message. A chilling unease extinguished my fire. Have you ever killed before, Tara? Michael asked. Again, his message was in all caps, the eerie question accentuated by a winking emoji. I was too scared to talk, too scared to even text. Michael's once adorable Bitmoji flashed a sinister smile, the image now possessing the aura of a killer doll. Uncanny Valley in overdrive. And then he started typing. I stole a glance at the door, not sure what to do. My aroused feelings replaced by fear. Michael's next message arrived, because I have. A hash vibration accompanied the next text. Remember that story about Patrick? He sent me a link, a creepypasta. I just saw a girl I matched with on Tinder get killed. Trapped in the chilling conversation, I struggled to turn away. I couldn't. Michael's new message appeared. That was me. His Bitmoji's grin only grew wider, more deranged. The big blue eyes, like daggers to my soul. That was me. Melissa read his next text. A hollow horror spread across me. Numbness. The aftereffects of a most unsettling shock. I didn't even flinch when Michael sent another message. Melissa Ramsey. Americus, Georgia. Shivering, I struggled to hold the phone. Tears fell down my face. In quick succession, the final text arrived. 14 Price Street. Michael's Bitmoji vanished off my screen, off into the night, and deep in my sickened gut, I knew right where he was going. I leapt out of my seat and bolted for the door, in total panic. My night of pleasure turned to a night of horror. No longer was I confident Tara. I was back to helpless Melissa, the timid geek. Clinging to my phone, I ripped open the door and rushed into the upstairs hallway. The lights were out, every single one, and somehow the house was colder. Scanning the scene, I looked all around me. The other bedroom door was closed. A nearby shelf, a towering shadow, the hanging picture frames nothing more than blank canvases in the dark. Downstairs, it was pitch black. I saw nothing, heard nothing. The dim lamps from my room, the only light close by. "Mama!" I yelled. I stood there in the freezing silence, waiting for a soothing voice that never came. The phone pulsated in my hand. Startled, I confronted Snapchat. Michael had sent me another link to a domain and extension I never heard of, but a site that sent chills down my spine. It was called Stream Kills. Uneasy, I stared at the link. Another message from Michael appeared. "Enjoy, Tara." I forced myself to mash it. The video swallowed up my screen. The footage precise and pristine, and in a setting I was all too familiar with. Our living room. I'd caught the middle of a bloodbath. Redness was scattered everywhere, all across our exotic rugs. Over the large flat screen, my father's corpse was sprawled across the couch. Deep cuts in his head and throat. His face partially flayed. Mom's screams, a brutal soundtrack to the massacre. The camera captured Mama staggering into a corner, blood soaked through her pajamas. Weeping, she held her hands out toward a masked man I was certain was Michael, or at least the man I'd been talking to for the last half hour. The killer stood tall. He wore dark clothes and an even darker ski mask. His long butcher's knife covered in blood, the blade marking my mother for a most horrible death. No, I yelled through the tears. Then I saw it. Beneath the murders, comments piled up. On the screen were users of all genders and races and ages. An excited audience. Oh, he's got her now. Killed that bitch. I love this guy. So fucking sick, read their messages. The comments kept piling in. Small boxes showed viewers watching on Skype, their eyes and expressions hungry for blood. Overcome by panic, I exited the video, looked toward the stairs. I screamed out. The eerie silence lingered, the sound of death. Fighting through the emotions and terror, I called Mom's phone, a desperate attempt to reach her, to save her. A buzz sliced through the silence. Behind me, a beam of light caught my eye. I whirled around. A horrified scream escaped my lips. Through my bedroom's lights, I saw Mama's severed head a few feet away, the head positioned like a work of art on the shelf. Blood poured out the neck in a red river. Her long hair smeared across her face's many slices. The glowing cell phone jammed straight in her shrieking mouth like a candle in a jack-o'-lantern. Mom's scared eyes stayed on me, unblinking, haunting eyes. "No!" I screamed. Breaking down in tears, I trembled in the hallway. My knees went wobbly, my arms quivering. I was a scared soldier, come face to face with death. All those dark web creepypastas, a reality in my own home. My phone pulsated to life, drawing me back to Snapchat, back to my parents' killer. A new snap from Michael greeted me. Even this frightened, I didn't hesitate to play it. After all, I had nowhere to run. I couldn't just block this creep, I had to confront him. A pic of Michael stared back at me, him in the ski mask, standing on our staircase. His blue eyes shined through the darkness, much like his sharp knife. Blood-red fonts spelled out his final message, "You're next, Tara." The crazy, smiling emoji, a ferocious finish to this terrifying threat. The other bedroom door slammed open, and there came my stud charging at me. Moving quick, Michael raised the butcher knife. Blood dripped off its edge. A huge laptop clasped in Michael's other gloved hand, its camera ready to capture my close-up. "Oh, fuck," I yelled. I jumped back in my room. Images of my slaughtered parents flashed through my mind. Dad's filleted face, Mom's severed head, the visceral fear forever resting in her dead eyes. In the frigid hallway, I gripped my cell phone tighter. Anger boiled up inside. Michael drew the knife back, ready for the kill. A fury conquered me. Call it fight or flight. Girl power. Whatever the fuck you want. All I know is I was still scared and in tears when I hurled that phone at the son of a bitch. The fastball smashed him right in the face. Crying out, Michael fell into the shelf before hitting the ground. He dropped the blade. The laptop, creaking through the night, the shelf toppled over, pinning him to the ground. Mom's head laid right beside Michael. Her gaze stuck, taunting his squirming body. His arms flailed about, splashing through the blood. I then made my move, grabbed the butcher knife, and confronted the killer. Michael held up his hands, a futile effort to stop this bitch. My rage won. With a rebel yell, I plunged the blade into his throat. Blood splurted over me like war paint. I pushed my hair to the side. Behind bitter eyes, I watched Michael's arms collapse. Watched blood build up beneath him. Watched his body go still. Lodged in his neck, the knife was my victory flag. Michael, my latest conquest. The adrenaline kept me warm on this winter night. Not to mention helped console me from the tragedy. Curious, I reached toward the ski mask. In a quick tug, I yanked it off. And there was the dream guy from Bumble, Michael Barnes. His blue eyes now faded with death. His face less handsome, his body less muscular under the gore. All the while, the laptop's frenetic comments kept going, an assembly line of voyeurs. I confronted their many disappointed faces, the crowd blood-blocked. "Fuck you," I screamed. Several vicious stomps smashed the screen into smithereens. Death to stream kills. At least for tonight. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw a figure appear, creeping in from the dark depths of the other bedroom. A tall figure in dark leggings and a flowing cape. A woman. Her entrance like that of a rock star taking the stage. The fear coming back, I faced her. Faced the mannequin mask, its long, mocking smile, the big eyes beneath it, the big boobs beneath the black clothes, and the even bigger knife in her hand. There was Shannon, the stuff of creepypasta lore, right here in the flesh. Showing off brute strength, Shannon pushed me to the ground. She glided over me, her movements effortless. Shannon put the knife to my throat. A headlock I wouldn't dare try to escape. In a theatrical motion, Shannon held out her phone. A message already prepared for me was on display. The letters big and crude. "Do what you're told and you'll live, bitch." The winking emoji next to it did little to comfort me. So here I am now, in a house I've never been to and in a room without a window. I'm trapped. No longer Melissa Ramsey, but Tara Heisler. I guess my wish did come true. I'm the bombshell. A bombshell crafted by Shannon and all the others involved at Stream Kills. The process wasn't easy. This wasn't Botox or a smooth surgery. Instead, my skin was bleached in the cheapest way possible. Similar to the dye they used to keep my hair bleached blonde. Blue contacts now disguise my eyes. Crude surgeries gave me the lousiest silicone for the big boobs. Now I sit alone in this room. A poor man's version of that Instagram model I based my catfish persona on. The laptop and cell phone my only items. The thousands of horny girls and boys my only company. People not unlike me in the days before I met Shannon. Looking back, I can't help but wonder if Michael was really the killer or a victim. If he was someone like me. Someone they doled up for the kills. Someone they forced into this twisted game. I've been told my turn is tonight. My first live stream murder. Shannon is joining me to make sure I go through with it. Both of us armed with those huge knives. I'm not really sure what else to say, what else to do. All I can tell you girls and guys is don't get too thirsty. Please don't be Melissa. And if you end up matching with a Tara Heisler, a southern blonde charmer, be careful, because it's either gonna be you or me who makes it through the night. This is the Curator. I hope you've enjoyed today's scary stories. Until next time.